you know, you're good.
All right, I think we are live.
So wait, are we supposed to be talking to people now?
I think we're live. I think we just went live.
Cool. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We got about 3 minutes and 45 seconds before the draft actually starts. And it's myself, Kyle McEwen. You can find me on Twitter at RotoWire Kyle NBA. Joined today by Mark F. Roberts, who you can find on Twitter at Mark F. Roberts, and that's Mark with a C. Oh.
What?
Who's playing the sound effects?
I can't hear any sound effects at my end. Oh, by the way, I'm Josh Lloyd for everyone who doesn't know who I am, and you can find me on Twitter at redrock_bball. Mark, you've got the first pick in this draft, so that's good luck for you, mate.
You bet, man. All the mock drafts I get the first pick, but I never get it in the real one. Let's see, where are you at? So Kyle,
I'm at 8.
4, no.
Kyle's at 9.
You guys are at 8 and 9, and then 3 and 4 on the flip side.
It's interesting. 8's a bad spot. I'm not happy with 8. Anywhere in the top 6 is good. 8's sort of no man's land to me.
Kyle, how do you feel about your pick?
So what? Hey, Mark.
Yes.
Do you have headphones plugged in?
Yes. Yeah, I definitely do, because I can hear through them. Does it not sound like I do? I wonder. Is that better?
Hey, Josh.
Yeah, Kyle.
Do you have headphones plugged into your computer?
Yep.
You must be picking something up.
I can't hear anything apart from you guys talking. That's it.
Oh, now I can't hear you guys.
That was an echo from me. Like from a minute ago.
Huh.
Okay. I can't hear any of that. All I can hear is you guys as you're talking. I can't hear any echoes. I can't hear any sound effects. It's all clear on my end. All right, a minute to go, Mark. You got an idea who you're taking at pick 1?
I haven't thought of it a lot, but I think I'm pretty good.
I reckon you'd be. I think you'd be pretty comfortable there. I think after the top 6 that my strategy is going to divert from these ESPN rankings quite a bit. I doubt I'll be going for whoever's at pick 8.
Oh, I'm an idiot. That's the problem. I think I fixed it.
Okay.
This is so unprofessional. It's ridiculous.
This is exactly what I expected the first time around, so.
Yeah. All right. I'm an idiot. I had like 3 windows open with the Google Hangout. So one of them was coming through, and then it would take like 20 seconds till the next one, and then 20 seconds till the next one. Oh, so it's the first pick of the first round. Is this you, Mark?
Yeah, you bet.
Who you taking, D-O-double-G?
I'm getting real worried about it here. No, just I don't know, maybe interesting for people. We're obviously not an auction here, but I have Durant as in a 9-category league, which is what we're in, 12 team. I have him as worth $10 more than the next guy. So, you know, it might look, people might be tempted to take Davis or LeBron or someone else, but I think there's literally nobody else you should consider taking at the first pick.
Yeah, he's a good
in real
20%
draft.
better than everyone else, I think. It's a big gap. Like the next guys you can throw sort of a blanket over, but Durant's a good 20% better than those guys. But then it gets interesting in the next four picks or next five, yeah, 4 or 5 picks because they can go pretty much anyway, I think.
Yeah, first pick is pretty obvious. If you almost have to take Durant in any kind of league that you're playing in. The only league that you might not take Durant in is a points league with some kind of weird scoring system that rewards silly stuff like, I was going to say technical fouls, but Durant usually gets a couple of those anyways.
Yeah, but yeah. There's no need to overthink it because no matter what it is, it's going to be him. There's no one else that gives you a positive contribution in 8 categories like he does. So no matter what the system is, even if it's a double involved, he still gets those. Like whatever he
Right.
does, there's no one
It's
that's
hard
getting
to
close.
design a
Ooh.
league with the first pick.
That's
Whoa.
interesting. So James Harden just went at number 2, so that's interesting. I wouldn't have had him at 2.
Mark, where do we have him at in a 9-cat ranking for Harden?
We've got him at 6th.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
I mean, pretty
Curry's
much tied
gone
with
at
Chris
3,
Paul,
so
so
it's
5th.
interesting.
I'll say this. The one thing about our rankings that I keep running into, and I think you ran into too, Mark, especially in head-to-head, not necessarily in Roto, which is what we're doing today, but is getting a shooting guard late is kind of hard because you kind of got two different kind of guys with shooting guards. You either have the elite ones, like a James Harden, or you've got an injured bum like Kobe Bryant, or you just got guys who really aren't that good later in the draft who you don't want to grab because you're trying to solidify yourself by getting a point guard, another extra point guard at that time, or a big man who's getting blocks. So it just kind of becomes hard to get a shooting guard late if you don't take one of the elite ones early. So
It's a massive drop off.
yeah,
After Harden, it's a big drop off. But as we've seen here, LeBron slipped to pick 5 in this draft. Yeah, Curry went 3, Davis 4, LeBron down to 5, and now Westbrook's gone at 6. So it's definitely been an interesting start. Definitely not the way I thought it would have gone. Now I'll come up to my pick. Now I'm if Chris
The
Paul
team
slides
at
here,
pick 5
I'm
who
taking.
had LeBron drop to them is pretty excited at this point, I would guess.
Yeah, that's a
I've never
pretty
seen
good
that
pick.
before.
5 is low. Now if Chris Paul falls to me here, I'm taking him. If not, I'm taking Melo. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see who's picking now. Pick 7, the pick before me. Like small forward, obviously there's the guys ahead like Durant and LeBron who are good. Then Anthony's the next level, but that's a position that drops off as well. Probably not as much as what shooting guard does, but there's still a lot of trash towards the end. It's not as deep as point guard and power forward. So after the first couple of guys, and Anthony's the clear third guy, I want to get him on the roster now, and he's really good in 9-cat leagues. It's where his best fantasy value lies, I think.
You're talking about Anthony Davis.
No, I'm talking about Carmelo Anthony. That's who I'm looking at here. Oh, it depends. If Chris Paul slides down here, I'm taking him. But
Gotcha.
if I can get, if he goes at pick 7 here, I'll be taking Melo.
Kyle, what are you thinking?
I'm not thinking right now. It's too early. But no, I mean, I keep going back to wanting to get a guy like Damian Lillard just because he doesn't get the exorbitant turnovers that you get from a guy like John Wall or even Russell Westbrook. But Westbrook's off the board, so that doesn't really count. So part of it's due to our rankings, but yeah, I'm really big on Damian Lillard this early in the draft. However, it's just hard to look at Kevin Love being there and not want to take him because those regardless of if his scoring goes down, Kevin Love's always going to get elite rebounds. He's going to get you decent assist numbers. He's going to get you tons of 3-pointers. He's just awesome all around.
A guy who gets over 2 threes a game as a power forward, it's pretty valuable. And it's not really going to change this season, I don't think. His scoring will dip, but everything else will stay similar.
Well, and his scoring is dipping from like 27 to maybe 23 or 22 in the worst case scenario. So he's still really. It's not like he's going to be bad at that. He's not going to be Serge Ibaka.
No. All right, I'm going to take Melo here because Chris Paul went at 7. Kyle, you're up.
Oh man. So I mean, based on our rankings, it's telling me I should take Kevin Love anyways, and that's the guy I want to take. So that's who I'm going to go with. But other guys in consideration for me here, Damian Lillard, Blake Griffin are two guys I would like to take right here. Carmelo Anthony is a good pick, but he's just a guy who I never would have grabbed because Carmelo Anthony, it sounds stupid coming from a so-called expert or whatever, but I like drafting the players I like to have on my team. So if I ever have an issue where I'm like, oh, I should probably take that guy. He's ahead on the rankings, 2 more spots than this guy. I'm still going to take the guy I like because it's just more fun to root for those players and to have those guys on your roster. When you're doing well and you have to look at your roster and there's players on it that you hate, it's just a lot less fun to play the game. In some respects.
Yeah, look,
I'm totally with that, and that's totally true. I will take the guy you want. If that's the guy you think is a sleeper or it's the guy that you love. I mean, most leagues are just for fun, even if there's something online, so you might as well have fun with it.
Yeah, that's right. Look, yeah, there's winning is fun as well, but if you've got a choice between a guy that you can't stand and a guy that you really enjoy watching, you go with that guy because you get a chance to cheer him on when you're watching it on the TV. And, he's helping your fantasy team. It's a win-win. It's not like one of those scenarios where you go, gee, I can't stand this guy because he's playing against my team and he's a real pain in the what. But I'm getting points for it. You're not hedging your bets. It's better to be completely positive on both sides.
Well, I know for one thing, I'm not going to watch any New York Knicks games this year, and I'm definitely going to watch a ton of Cavs games. So, there's just another thing about drafting a guy like Kevin Love.
And Kyle, you mentioned you were thinking about taking Griffin, and I actually thought he was going to be on your pick next round, but he got taken right after you. Yeah,
so Griffin's gone at 10, Cousins at 11, and Ibaka at 12. Cousins and Ibaka is pretty standard there. Griffin at 10 feels a little high, but it's not excessively high.
But I feel like Griffin still has room to grow because he's gotten better at his. Griffin, I used to rip on that guy a lot the last couple of years because his free throw percentage was so bad and he was taking so many attempts that he kind of had that Dwight Howard effect on your team a little bit, or to at least a pretty decent degree. Now, I believe Griffin, we've got him scheduled or projected to shoot 72% from the free throw line. So, my microphone got muted somehow. That doesn't help.
No, we can still hear you.
Oh, you can? Okay.
But Griffin's I think improved his free throw percentage every season he's been in the league. If he could get it up to 75 or 76, it'd be fantastic for his fantasy. But he probably can't. But he's made a significant improvement every season that he's been in the league.
I actually think he's well worth a first-round pick. I've been kind of hoping that, especially when I picked the end of the first round, hoping that he's there on the round, and a lot of times he has been. So I think he's a good value.
Interesting, John Wall. Sure, but
John
Wall's still on the board.
I think it's the John Wall thing is just his ranking dips in 9 category leagues, and that's something I don't know if we mentioned yet, but on ESPN their rankings are for 8 categories. So they only factor in the 8 categories. They don't factor in turnovers into their rankings on ESPN, which is really important to know because then you see the high turnover guys rising a little bit higher on the board than they would in other leagues. And in some respects, it's more than one round. So it can be a pretty big factor in the rankings.
So Wall's still on the board. He's ranked on ESPN at 7. Now, him at 7 in a 9 category league is too high. So it's right that he's still there, but you'll see a lot of people who might make that mistake who have their setting as a 9 category league and jump on him at pick 7, and it is a little bit too high considering I think he's second in the league in turnovers last year behind Curry. It's over 3.5 a game or around 3.5 a game. It's a pretty big chunk. Then it makes an impact on your team definitely.
Yes. So in our rankings that we posted on the website, the 9-cat rankings, he comes in at number 32. So. Yep. Our drafters in this room were being pretty smart, I think.
Who are you looking at here, Kyle? I wanted Al Jefferson.
Shoot.
Gone at 15.
I didn't even realize it was my pick. Biscuits. All right, I'm gonna do something so we can talk about it.
All right. Don't do what I think you're gonna do.
I'm gonna do what I think I'm gonna do. Maybe should I? Now you got me scared.
I'm guessing it's Drummond.
Whatever, I'm doing it. Don't tell me what to do, Josh.
That's all right. You're your own man.
Yeah. So I went ahead and took Andre Drummond with this pick, and the reason I did that is I could make stupid arguments like, well, I won't have another pick until the 33rd pick, so realistically I probably wouldn't be able to get Drummond, which is kind of true. His ADP on ESPN is 31.5, so if I wanted Drummond at this draft slot, I pretty much had to take him now. Now, the good thing about for me is, at least in our rankings for RotoWire for a 9-cat league, we've got Drummond as 11th. The big worry with him is the fact that we've got him projected to shoot 42% from the free throw line. However, that's on like 4.5 attempts a game. So realistically, you can make up the difference in Drummond's free throw shooting by having good free throw shooters on your team. Whereas a guy like Dwight Howard, he takes such a high volume or a high number of free throw shots that the dearth in percentage that he gives you is too high to kind of climb out of that hole. Now, that might happen with Drummond if teams decide to start doing hack-a-shack on him. And here's the thing. I'm willing to draft Drummond early, but I'm also going to trade him if I see in the first month of the season that Drummond's getting hack-a-shacked, going to the line 8 to 10 times. Then I'm going to try and trade him for a different big man, maybe a Chris Bosh, maybe somebody else, for somebody who's looking for blocks that they're missing out on or something along those lines.
It makes a lot of sense. So, Kyle, I took Drummond in a draft, Josh and I are in, and it's great. The rebounds, the blocks, the percentage. Part that I kind of told about drafting him was from then on I had to be taking guys that were good at free throw percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was able to get back up into the middle of the pack in free throw percentage, but it meant that I had to pass on a lot of guys that I really liked. That I wanted to take because they weren't like an elite free throw percentage guy, and so I think that's the thing you have to think about when you pick guys that are really bad at a category. You can nick it up, but you're going to be your available options at that point get smaller and smaller.
Yeah, it really hamstrings what you do with all your next picks because you're really trying to focus on guys who are making up that deficit. I went with Kawhi Leonard with my pick at pick 17 just after you, Kyle. I was tossing up to go Dirk or Kawhi, but Kawhi, this is where his value shines to me in a 9-category roto league. That's where his best value is. I think he's going to be he does it a lot without turning the ball over as well. So that's, as we mentioned with John Wall, it's factoring in that 9th category, and he doesn't hurt you in there at all. In fact, he helps you. Plus all those other numbers: the steals and blocks, the rebounds, the percentages, the scoring's not ideal, but I paired him with Melo, so my scoring's off to a pretty good start as it is. I've got the second best scorer in the NBA. I could sort of make do with that sort of deficit there, considering he's going to be bumping up my steals and blocks.
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm willing to take Kawhi Leonard in the second round of a draft, of a rotisserie draft, so it's fine. I think the one thing that just kills me about him is how much of his value comes from turnovers, though. The fact that he only gets you 1.1 turnover, and that's good. It's awesome in a 9-category league because you need a guy like that who's kind of elite in some way in turnovers to be able to help you limit that just that category. But you can keep talking, Josh. You're the one who's awake right now, Australian.
I'm awake, but it's 11:30 at night here, and I'm getting sleepy, but I'm getting through it. Now, yeah, I was tossing up Dirk or Kawhi. I think I really want to. I've been talking up Kawhi sort of all off season, so I thought I'd better make the move and grab him. But Dirk's gone at pick 20 here anyway. He wasn't going to get back around, but he's a guy that I think gets underrated. I think people are waiting for him to have a drop off as well, and it doesn't feel like it's coming this season or next season for that matter. He's going to be a guy who's pretty consistent. He might have a slight decline, but it's not going to be a big decline. Because I think last season he was a top 10 guy, in fantasy with the numbers he put up, which I imagine would surprise quite a few people.
I do like that Chris Bosh went right before Dirk, though, because if you're going to go for Dirk this early, Bosh should go before him. For one thing, Bosh, especially on ESPN, which ESPN right now only has one position selected for every player, and Bosh is listed at center, while Nowitzki's listed at power forward. It's not as big of an issue to make sure you get a center early in ESPN because their default for most leagues is just for for one center on the roster, which is what we have in this mock draft here.
Mark, your picks are about to come up. What are you looking at on the back-to-back picks here?
And so Durant is kind of the opposite of Drummond, right? Like, he's good in every single category. So as I'm thinking about team building, which is when you were talking about pairing Leonard and Carmelo, I think that's what people need to think about doing. You know, when we're drafting in fantasy football, you're strictly going for value. You're just trying to get points. But especially in a rotisserie league, team building is so important. So you're trying to, in the first rounds, pair different categories and put them together, make sure you're not weak in any area. But the benefit of drafting Durant, not only is he awesome, but he's awesome everywhere. And so, you know, I think he's one of the rare exceptions where I'm just going to go with the guy that's highest on my list next.
If I was you, Mark, I'd be going with Kyle Lowry at this pick. I don't know what you're thinking of doing.
Oh, no way. No way.
You don't want to take him at this pick?
I don't want to take Kyle Lowry in any draft ever. I hate that guy.
Fair enough.
So is that a personal hatred or a...
He's always hurt, or he's got some issue with the coach, or he's complaining about his playing time. Granted, one of the things that he came down with was like some kind of viral infection thing inside, like internally, and he got all messed up. But a couple of years ago when he was with Houston, he was in a contract year last year, and that was his best year. It was the one year he stayed healthy. Like, I don't like it.
The health is an issue. Like, but I think the season before his first one in Toronto, before he got hurt, he was putting up numbers similar to what he did last season. So I don't think he was completely motivated by the contract, but he did stay healthy, and that allowed him to do that all season. But he was off to a flying start.
I would rather take a risk on a guy like, or I would rather go with Goran Dragic. I would rather go with Kyrie Irving over Kyle Lowry. I would rather go with Kemba Walker, Mike Conley. Man, there's so many guys I would rather have than Kyle Lowry. And I just don't think he plays a wrecking ball style of basketball, too. I don't think he's going to stay healthy. I just don't think that he's not my kind of guy. I mean, if you want to root for him because he's a gamer in some respects as far as like playing hard, but
I love watching him play. I reckon he's a really fun guy to watch play. He's super aggressive. I like the way he goes about. I don't like the way he goes about the complaining off the court with the coach, but when he's on the court, I like the way he goes about it. I don't have a hesitation with him this season. But he'll probably. I think a lot of people feel the way you do, Kyle, and he'll drop in a lot of leagues because they'll think contract year. They know his injury history. They'll think maybe it was a bit of a fluke. Because look, let's be honest. Last year he jumped probably about 40 spots on where he was drafted.
Right.
It was a massive leap. It wasn't quite Trevor Ariza-like, but it was pretty big.
I actually picked him up in a league last year just to kind of give you an idea of where he was at. I actually have seen the opposite, Josh. So I've seen him go higher in drafts than I would have ever expected. I mean, he's got a lot of drafts he's going in the second round. I like him probably more than Kyle does, but he's not a second rounder for me. So I ended up taking Murray, and I think my next pick, I'm going to go with a guy. Doesn't hurt that he spells his name the same way I do. Marcus Gasol.
Yeah, he had a real down year last year as well, so I think he's probably being undervalued a bit because he was, the year before when he was the defensive player of the year, he was putting up some pretty big numbers. He had a really, really down year, but obviously it was impacted by injury. And look, he's got every chance to bounce right back.
That's my hope.
And then Mike Conley's gone straight after him, so we've still got Ty Lawson and Kyle Lowry both still sitting out there, who I thought would have gone before Conley. But Conley's not a horrible pick. He's a decent guy. He's a great guy for steals. He gets pretty good assists. His percentages aren't horrible. He's not shooting 42% or 38% Brendan Jennings style. He's a pretty decent shooter. He's not a bad pick at that stage. DeAndre Jordan's gone at 27 now.
Yeah, just kind of something interesting to show. We're in a pretty good draft room here. My top 24 picks, or at least the guys that I think are in the top 24, went as the first 24 picks. So,
okay,
I think we got some guys in here that know what they're doing.
Everyone's using your cheat sheets, Mark.
That could be the other thing.
So DeAndre Jordan, there's some people who think that his minutes are going to get cut because of Spencer Hawes And what do you guys feel about that? Because I don't think that DeAndre Jordan's minutes are going to get cut. If anybody's going to get the shaft, I think it's going to be Glenn Davis. Like, I think DeAndre Jordan's going to get the minutes he's going to get. So will Blake Griffin. And the way Spencer Hawes is going to be fantasy relevant in like extended leagues, 12-team leagues and stuff, is only if he steals minutes from Glenn Davis, and Glenn Davis ends up spending the whole game on the bench.
Well, let's look. Glenn Davis is rubbish, so Hawes should take those minutes off him. And I agree. There's no reason that Doc Rivers will take the minutes off. Jordan played, basically no minutes until Rivers got there. Rivers said, you know what, I like this guy. He's my starting center. I'm giving him minutes. And look what he did last season. Just numbers, rebounds, blocks. He was made a massive leap. He was the guy that I had considered, as one of the most improved players last season. I thought he should have gone close to winning it. That's how much he improved. And Rivers obviously loves what he does. I don't think it's a completely different game style between having Hawes and Jordan in there. So Rivers isn't just going to go, this worked for us last year, I gave it to him, but let's just bring a guy in there who's just going to bomb threes and not be a paint presence when it changes their whole structure. He'll replace Davis because Davis should be battling guys like Ryan Hollins for minutes. That's how low I have him rated.
I might be wrong. Didn't Doc Rivers compare DeAndre Jordan to like Bill Russell or something last year? I mean, he was really high.
I heard that,
and I don't know if he believed that or not, but he wanted DeAndre Jordan to believe that, and I think he realizes that for the DeAndre Jordan got it better than he was at the beginning of the season and probably take another step forward. So I think he'll be fine with minutes.
Yeah.
I don't think to worry about.
No, I just for DeAndre Jordan, he's exactly who you want. If you're going to have, you want one of two things out of a center. You either want a guy who can stretch the floor these days, or you want a guy who can protect the rim. I think a guy who can protect the rim is more important because you've seen how that helps a team win in regard to Tyson Chandler with the Dallas Mavericks a few years ago, and then of course with Miami, they had a center who could extend the shot to the three-point line at Chris Bosh, but they actually gave Chris Anderson quite a few minutes because he protected the rim. I just feel like if you don't have a center who's going to either protect the rim or give you a great offense or a long-range shot to help you spread everything, then you're not going to have a good situation in the NBA to be like one of the most competitive teams. And I mean, just look at the younger teams that are excelling right now too, like a Phoenix Suns team. I actually think that the Utah Jazz could end up surprising everybody, especially when you look at their box score right now. Did you guys see Utah's box score last night?
Yeah, how good everybody was good. Burks, Hayward, Burke, Favors, Cantor. Everyone had big lines. It was huge.
Everybody took the same number of shots too. The first two preseason games for that team, everybody's taking the same number of shots. They're just sharing the ball in a way that they never did last season. Everybody's getting put in a position to be successful. It's amazing. It's so awesome that Quinn Snyder took over there and essentially turned a team with just ludicrous level of talent and is actually going to make them competitive now. I mean, it's really exciting for fantasy because we're going to have probably 6 or 7 guys on that team that are going to be legitimate fantasy players. Utah might be the fantasy superstar team this season.
They might be. Now, Kyle, it's your pick. I'll just let you know. Because I just picked Joakim Noah at 32. Yeah, he'd fallen too far, so I grabbed him at 32, but it's your pick. But yeah, Utah was it was like guys like Alec Burks, who's had 2 good games in a row now. Trey Burks looked really good. Cantor's attempting threes. He's hitting threes. He almost got another double-double. Everyone looks good, and I think everyone's going to have been in that position where they're going to have the ability to outplay where they're getting drafted. Like Burke and Burks are both going after pick 100 in most drafts. And I think that they'll both finish probably inside the top 100, especially with the way things look at the moment.
And they're talking about with Alec Burke. They're talking about Alec Burks, right? This is so confusing. Alec Burks. They're talking about him possibly being a 20-point scorer on that team or being the leading scorer for that team. And then you got Enes Kanter taking 3-pointers. I mean, there's so much going good with that team. Enes Kanter could end up having LaMarcus Aldridge value.
Yeah, he could go like 19 and 10 comfortably, I'd say.
Yeah, and then if he adds you a couple 3-pointers, and he's going to shoot probably, even if he's shooting 3-pointers, you're going to end up seeing Enes Kanter average anywhere from 45 to 50% shooting from the field, even when he's taking those long-range shots, because he's that good.
Yeah, he is good. I've been really high on Kanter. I thought he was going to break out last year. It didn't happen because Ty Corbin was a moron.
Yeah.
And
he is. Yeah, he's an idiot.
Richard Jefferson and Marvin Williams, because that built for the future so well for those guys on expiring deals. That helped a lot, Ty. So congratulations for that.
Just think about how much better they could be too if they would have actually traded away Paul Millsap and Al Jefferson for like a first-round pick each.
They just let them both go. It made no sense.
Zero sense.
Well, and Zach Lowe reported last year that they had a chance to trade Marvin Williams for a first-round pick, and I mean, it made no sense. They didn't pull the trigger on that. I don't know
if that's true. That's ridiculous. If that's true.
So who took Derrick Rose right here? That was Mike Soderline from Twitter. So what do we want to talk about there?
He's going to pick 35. Look, he has the ability to be a player who's at pick 35. It's just so hard to rely on him, especially when we've seen him on the 2 comebacks not look good. Like, he hasn't been able to shoot. He's been turning it over. He's getting no assists. Even when he was healthy in his MVP season, he was, in an 8 category league, he wasn't a top 10 player. In a 9 category league, he wasn't a top 10 player. In an 8 category league, he was. But that's the only sort of top 10 fantasy season he's had, and that was when he was his MVP. And to think he's going to get back to his MVP level, I don't think he's going to get anywhere near that this season. 35 is probably okay, but I don't think I'd take him that early.
I'm not. The thing is, like with guys like Derrick Rose, with guys like Kobe, even when you talk to an injury expert like Jeff Stotts, who understands injuries, he'll never say, I'm not going to draft a player. He'll say, I just won't draft a player until a certain spot in the draft. Well, but the reality of the situation is, if you are going to take a Derrick Rose or you're going to take a Kobe Bryant, you have to invest a relatively high pick in them because of the potential that they have.
So, well, Kobe went at pick 30. We didn't even talk about that. He's already gone at pick 30 in this draft. So there's
just guys that are outside in this category or in this scoring system, they're outside of our top 100.
Yeah. And that's completely tied to the number of games we have them projected for, but it's a reality. Like, if you're not getting games out of those guys, it's at your detriment. And I just think that what you do is you literally just tell yourself, I'm not drafting this list of players because the risk for drafting them is too high. It'll ruin your team. You're sitting here and you could be drafting a Chandler Parsons, Drew Holiday, Gordon Hayward, Jeff Teague, Monte Ellis, Derek Favors right now. And you're taking somebody who might not play the whole season if they have it's not worth it.
The Gordon Hayward one's interesting to me because I think he's going to be a much better option than Kobe this year. They both will be shooting guard eligible guys. Hayward will probably be eligible at shooting guard and small forward position most likely. I think he's a much better option than Kobe, and I'm shocked that he went 7 spots after him.
The other thing that's true about Kobe that is just, whether he plays, if he has enough games, he is going to probably lead the league in turnovers. He's the highest in our projections, and so that when you're talking about players that are different in 8 category leagues and 9 category leagues, he might be a top guy. Even in a evaluation system where we factor in production for the games that Kobe's missed, I still have him at 91, so not outside the top 100, but pretty close. I don't see upside with him this year.
Agreed. What about Joakim Noah? Because we actually have him lower in our rankings than what pretty much anybody else does. And I've been trying to explain this to people that last year Noah was playing without Derrick Rose, so they had Carlos Boozer there, who they didn't want to play big minutes. So there's plenty of minutes available for Joakim Noah, just for him to have to play. He was relatively healthy. He's always had some kind of injury issues going forward. So, our projection for him is much lower than a lot of places, because a lot of places just take last year's stats and say, okay, it's going to be somewhere close to that. It's not the same situation.
He's not going to have anywhere near that what he did last year.
So they got Pau Gasol there. They brought in Nikola Mirotic, who's showing up pretty huge in one preseason game and then pretty strange in the next.
It's your pick, Kyle, by the way.
Thank you so much, Josh. You're so caring.
I'm on the ball at times.
I had a guy ask me last night, in fact, on Twitter, why we have Favors ahead of Noah. And, some of the – I didn't mention about Rose, which I think is a great point, but you're right. His injury history, there's definitely an injury risk there, and the front court thing is an option, or is a problem. They've got so many good guys there. I guess is the counter argument though that Thibodeau plays his starters a lot of minutes, and maybe he doesn't care who he's got on the bench. He's going to play Joakim a lot of minutes because Joakim's his guy.
Well, even so, I feel like there's enough arguments to drop Joakim Noah before we even heard about the fact that he had off-season knee surgery after the season ended. So once we heard that, then it just became a situation where I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay, I've already got tons of reasons to think that Joakim Noah's minutes are going to go down, that his assists are going to go down dramatically because they're not going to be running that high pick and roll with him as much as they did last year. And it wasn't even like a pick and roll. It was like a high handoff. And like, I'm sorry, but like everybody was so enamored with his assists last year, and it was cool that he was getting big assist numbers. But at the same time, if you go back and watch those, it's just such a weird play. I don't really see how. Like I feel like any big man should have been able to do that, and a lot of it was just the fact that DJ Augustine was very crafty in getting open off that handoff, and so was Kirk Heinrich.
Yeah, look, I think I talked about this. I did a podcast, a Bulls podcast the other day, and I think the last 3 months of the season, Noah averaged over 7 assists a game. There's no way it's sustainable. The last time he played with Rose, he averaged 2, and that's what it's going to go back to, really.
That's insane.
Now, Kyle, you just picked Drew Holiday at pick 40, which is the guy that I wanted. So I'm not happy about that. I went with Bledsoe at 41, which I don't know if I'm happy about that pick actually.
It's terrifying to take Goran Dragic or Bledsoe because you don't know how much Isaiah Thomas is going to play.
I know that's like Bledsoe at 41. I feel like I wouldn't take him inside the top 30, but I'm second guessing the pick a little bit now. But I did need a point guard. Maybe I should have gone with Teague.
Well, the thing is about Bledsoe though, like you remember 2 years ago when he was playing for the Clippers, he was averaging about a block per game from the point guard position, and you're sitting there and you're going, okay, well, maybe now that he's a little bit more comfortable playing a bigger role this year, maybe he'll go back to actually having some better defensive stats. And I do hope that you see a Bledsoe take another step. And I mean, he still wants to prove people that he deserves the contract he got this offseason. So, and I think Bledsoe just legitimately wants to be a number one option. So I think playing next to Dragic, he's gonna still keep trying to push.
Who's the better guy, Kyle? Is it Dragic or Bledsoe? It was Dragic last season, but who is it this season? Do you reckon Bledsoe, inherits more of the responsibility, or is it still Dragic that's the guy?
I think it's Dragic just because Dragic, despite playing like a wrecking ball himself, he stays healthier. Bledsoe, we don't know what's going to go on with his knee. I think they just removed his meniscus last year, which whenever a team does that, it always puts the player at risk of greater injury going forward.
They did whatever they did to they had the Dwayne Wade surgery, I think, which is the removal, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's
Derrick Rose had
Brandon
the
Roy
repair.
surgery, isn't it?
What was that, Mark?
I think that might be the Brandon Roy surgery.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, and the Dwayne Wade stuff, because in Dwayne Wade it was in college. Essentially, you got two options when you got a meniscus injury. You can either repair it, and it's going to take 6 months to a year to return, or you can just have it removed, and you can return in about a month to 3 months, depending on like how much it is. Now, I'm not a doctor, so that's a very generalized statement there, but that's just kind of like it's more about talking to the point of if you just remove the meniscus, the injured meniscus or whatever, you essentially can return quicker than you would be able to if you had it repaired.
That's what I mean. I think when Roy had the surgery, he came back in like a week, although it didn't work out for his career.
No, it did not work out.
Mark, you're up as well.
Yep.
Top-ranked guys, Wesley Matthews, dude.
That's who I've got on the board.
Doesn't mean you have to take him.
Yeah, the problem is I think I need rebounds, but I think Wesley Matthews is too good of a value at this pick, so I'm going to go with Matthews here. And then the nice part is I've got the wraparound, so I think I'm going to try to pick power forward here that's going to get me enough rebounds to help out.
A guy who's sort of sitting around, and I think he's probably going to hang around for a bit more, is Brook Lopez, and everyone's scared off by the injury. Where's the earliest you would take him, Mark, Kyle?
He's just low in our rankings because of the fact that he sucks at rebounding. So, like he's at 88th in our 9 category rankings right now, and his ADP on ESPN is 47. So, and now, do I think? Here's the thing. I think that Brook Lopez could improve in his rebounds this year because I think Lionel Hollins is going to beat the crap out of him if he doesn't. But like I mean that in a literal sense too. I mean I think Lionel Hollins will take Brook Lopez out into the back of the alley and beat the crap out of him. I wanted to cuss there so bad. But yeah, I'm not willing to invest in him. I'm not taking an injured guy. Brook Lopez is the same thing as Kobe Bryant. It's the same thing as Derrick Rose. If you take him this early, it's just, what's the point, man? I'd rather take a guy like Pau Gasol who, I don't know, at least when he is healthy, he does get you good rebound numbers.
Yep. But yeah, Gasol's had his injury worries as well. Obviously not to the same extent as Lopez recently.
Yeah, but part of me feels like the reason Gasol wasn't playing as many games the last couple of years is because he was like, why am I going to return and play in this crappy offense with Mike D'Antoni?
Yeah, he was basically just sooking and didn't want to get it back out there. And I mean, when he was out for a month with vertigo, which I know can be a crippling disorder for many people, but it just felt like Powell said, you know what, I'm done and I'm not coming back, and I'm using whatever sort of piss weak excuse I can find not to get back out there.
Piss weak.
So I just took Terrence Jones, who is a guy. He's kind of along the same lines as Leonard. A lot of his value comes from turnovers. But at this point, I take a lot of turnover guys, and so I needed some help there. And he's going to provide me the rebounds I need. So that's my thinking there. In an 8-category league, I probably would have never considered him this high, but a little bit need and a little bit the turnovers.
Interestingly today, Dwight Howard sat today, or not today, I don't know what day it is, yesterday for you guys over there. Dwight Howard sat yesterday's game, and Jones started at center for Houston. So that was interesting to me. They didn't bring Montezumas off the bench to start. They put Jeff Adrian in, and they started Terrence Jones at center. So I thought that was interesting.
Kyle, you took Drew Holiday your last pick. Now, wasn't there a report that came out and said he's like 70%? It feels like he's 70%. That kind of worried me. What do you think about that?
Oh, he played in their first 2 preseason games, I believe, right?
Yeah, he did. He
Saturday and Monday, so.
Yeah, he looked okay.
He's just downplaying it a little bit.
I just really like the guy, you know?
Yeah. He's very high in our ranking. I've ended up with him in almost every draft that I've done.
He had the injury last year, but before that, he had never really been injured before. He gets you good rebounds from the guard position. He gets you about half a block a game from the guard position. And I just think that Drew Holiday's, what is he, 6'3", 6'4"? He looks young, but he's got a really wide shoulders. He's just got a thick frame. I've always thought that Drew Holiday is somebody who could, if he decided to, he could be, I think he could be an elite guy, like a second-round point guard. But I also feel like the way he plays the game is he's just more of a Chauncey Billups type of bruiser point guard, and he's also not one who's going to be trying to score a lot. He likes to dish out the ball, and he's a high assist guy. I'm just a big fan of his game.
He's going to get a lot of steals too, which is obviously helpful.
Mm-hmm. Kenneth Faried at 39, though. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on Kenneth Faried this year?
I will give you my thoughts.
I mean, the thing that you hear every time is the Team USA thing, right? Like Kevin Durant came back from Team USA and he was awesome. There's been other players that have come back from Team USA and been awesome. I don't know if him starting on Team USA is an indication that he's just going to be a superstar. I think it's more Coach K wanted a role player, and he was like an elite role player. So I mean, I think he's going to start, and I think he'll do well in our rankings. let's see, I've got him about 35, so he's probably an okay pick for where he went. But I think a lot of people are a lot higher on him than I am.
Yeah, I'm not. Okay. I think he's obviously going to get great rebound numbers. He'll score a bit. He'll get you a good field goal percentage, but he's not getting a ton of blocks. He's not getting steals. He's not hitting threes. Like that's not something that's ever happening. I don't think he was great. He was super energetic at the World Cup, and he's a fun guy to watch. People love seeing him get up there and seeing the hair fly all around. He just looks like he's all arms and legs, just muscling guys out and jumping over guys. But I think some of that is plays down. I don't think he's not an elite superstar type of guy. I don't think in fantasy or in real life.
Josh, when you were talking about his hair flopping around, is that what when you play basketball? Is that what your beard look like?
It's just blowing in the wind. He's like, I don't have quite the athleticism that Kenneth Faried does. Kyle, your pick.
Yeah, I just took Jeff Teague, and the issue I was running into here is generally, in head-to-head leagues, I'm just looking to get guys who get those 6 positive counting stats. So I'm going out and I'm not considering turnovers at all. But right now I'm trying to look at everything, and I'm trying to figure out, should I have gone with a shooting guard, one, to get somebody into my darn shooting guard slot because I don't have anybody there yet, or two, because shooting guards get you less turnovers. So I kind of just thought, maybe I've got enough assists right now with Kemba and Drew Holiday. Maybe I don't need to go get Teague, because I was actually worried about the number of turnovers I'm going to have on my team, which is, I'm sorry, I hate thinking about that because it makes you take less fun players to own. I don't want to think about, do I need to take Jeff Teague or Kyle Korver? I want to take Jeff Teague. He's more fun to own. So screw turnovers.
I'm with you. I wish we would get rid of turnovers as a category. I think.
Okay, so if that's. I reckon I agree with you guys, but a lot of people want 9 categories, especially if they play head-to-head. Like most categories wins the week, they want an odd number. What's your choice as like a replacement 9th category? You see some people go an assist to turnover, they go double-doubles, they go 3-point percentage, they go something weird and wonderful. What if you had to choose like a 9th category that becomes the standard 9th category that's not turnovers? What do each of you guys go for?
I just don't get why you need nine categories. I don't like. I think it's an OCD thing if people feel like they need 9 categories, because even if you tie 4-4, it's just that week, and the only time it's ever going to happen where you have like a tiebreaker is in the playoffs where it would matter, and the tiebreaker in the playoffs is overall season record against that particular team you're playing against. So like, I don't see the issue with using 8 categories instead of 9, especially in head-to-head.
I'm with you as well, and I think most of the time when I play a head-to-head category league, I do it as each category instead of most categories anyway. So it doesn't matter if you tie 4-4, it's still 4 wins. But I hear a lot of complaints. I see them written. You can't play with 8 because you need to have an odd number so that you don't have ties. And I agree with you, Cole. But you hear that complaint a lot from people. I don't know if you hear it at all.
Oh yeah, all the time, and I don't get it. I don't get it at all. You're not going to convince me that you need to have an odd number of categories, because even if you want to add assist to turnover ratio, well, you're already accounting for assists. So let's take that away, and now let's talk about what other category. The one category change that I think is interesting that people will do sometimes is when you change free throw percentage to free throws made. And the reason I think that's interesting is because then it makes a guy like Dwight Howard not somebody who you can't go after, but somebody who you actually has great value because of the number of free throws he makes despite his misses.
It changes everything.
It's more like real basketball. If there was a real draft, Dwight Howard would go in the top couple, round or two. And we've got him projected at like 90 or something, don't we? That's kind of where fantasy disconnects from real life, and so I really like that change. Actually, we've got him at 115.
Yeah.
Dwight Howard is obviously not the 115th best player in the NBA, so. No, I like that change a lot.
It changes things around completely. It bumps him like right up there. Like he becomes like one of the probably back to the top 10 guy, I'd say, if that category's in there. Okay, who are you looking at this?
Rookies come off the board. We've got
Jabari's
both Noel and Jabari
Oh, where
Parker
did Noel
off the board.
go?
What do you guys think about that?
Noel at 54. I don't like Noel at 54 in a Roto league.
I'm worried about his. Like, I couldn't take him because of his free throw percentage and the fact that I already have Drummond, so I wouldn't be able to take Noel.
Yeah, I don't like him at that, but I don't mind. But I don't mind it. I think Jabari at 59 in a 9 category. I think he's going to have a lot of turnovers. I think we talked about turnovers already, but I think he's going to have turnovers, and I think his percentages aren't going to be great. As most rookies don't have great percentages. I think he'll struggle in that scenario. So I think at 59, it's maybe a little early, but it's not excessively early.
Yeah, I mean, the turnover thing is a big deal. All of those rookies project for a lot of turnovers. In fact, we have Parker, I think, at 136 on the website on our ranking. So
Who's the
I
highest
would
rookie you've
recommend
got
not
on the
taking
ranking?
him that high.
Who's the highest you've got on the mark? Who's the highest rookie?
Oh, it's Noel. We've got him in this format. We've got him at 75.
Okay. But Tim Duncan's just gone off at 62. I reckon that's a pretty good value pick at 62. He'll miss games, but he's not going to miss 20 games or 30 games. But a guy did Dwayne Wade go yet?
Yeah, he's gone. He went right after Howard.
Oh yeah, he did 47. That's interesting. What do you guys think of Wade this season? Do you think that he's, is he going to play over 70 games? Like, he's not going to sit out the 30 odd games that he set out last year, is he?
Didn't he already say he's going to play all 82?
Yeah, but he's not going to play. He's not playing all 82.
I'm just kidding.
We know that's not going to happen. But I think he can easily play, 72 to 75 games.
Yeah, Wade is one of those guys that in the off season, I'm realistic and I sit and say, he's going to miss a lot of games and he's kind of getting worse at these categories. And so I think we ranked him appropriately, but come draft time, he's one of those guys that we've got him at 73 on the website in this kind of a Roto league. Part of the reason is because he's not great at free throw percentage, particularly for a guard. But at this point in the season, I start trying to talk myself into guys like that, where you could there's a lot of upside there if he had a bounce back. I'm just going to throw it in LeBron's face that he left and I'm still awesome sort of a season. And, that probably isn't going to happen with guys that are going around the same picks as him. So I think it's probably better to stay away, but I find myself having a hard time doing that.
Yeah, look, I think there gets a stage where there's value for him. If he had to slip past 50, I think I probably would have grabbed him. He's gone just before 30 here, but I think that he's got a lot of value. He doesn't hit any threes as a shooting guard, which is a detriment as well. But I think he's going to have a much better season than last season.
It's interesting to see if last year was totally a maintenance thing and he can come back and be sort of the Dwayne Wade, or if he's really at his prime. Last year is the best we're going to get out of him for the rest of his career, and I really have no idea.
Yeah, Look,
which is what makes him risky. That's what makes him interesting. That's what makes you kind of want to draft him just to see.
There's definitely a risk there. Okay, so
Well, you went with Pau Gasol.
Yeah.
You love Pau.
I do love Pau, but I don't. I was in a spot where I'm sitting there and I'm going. See, 9 category leagues are hard because I wanted to take a shooting guard here. I'm trying to find a shooting guard that's worth taking, but I'm also terrified about turnovers. So I'm looking at everything and I just decided Pau Gasol is the guy who I'm not afraid to take right now because, like,
How do you think Bulls' front court rotation is going to go? Do you think it's pretty solid? It's going to be Gasol and Joakim Noah who play big minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I think they both get about 34 minutes, and then Taj Gibson gets about 29 minutes. I don't even know if that adds up, but it's going to be something close to that, and then that's just where it is.
Yeah, Mirotic isn't going to get a ton of minutes, I don't think.
Yeah, what's going to happen to Mirotic?
He's just not. He's a rookie. Yeah.
Like, even McDermott won't play a huge amount of minutes. Like, we've even the preseason, Tony Snell's not getting a minutes. He's not even a rookie anymore. And we saw what he was able to do. And I think he's a pretty good player, but that team is so deep. There's just so many guys on that team who can play at every position basically that it's going to be hard for guys like Mirotic and McDermott to get minutes, and Snell obviously they're going to just struggle to get on the court as talented as they may be. They're just not going to get on the court enough to have much of an impact. And he's not going to just play everyone. He's not going to play Noah 20 minutes, Gasol 20 minutes, and Gibson 20 minutes, and Mirotic 20 minutes. He's not going to do that. He's going to play what he does, high minutes for those guys, and just run a small rotation. I think I heard somewhere that he wants to run an 8-man rotation. He said maybe 9-man rotation.
That sounds like Thibodeau.
So we're not stretching it out to 12.
He'd run a 5-man rotation if he could.
Yeah, well, once the playoff comes, I think that's what he does, isn't he? It's Jimmy Butler for 48 minutes, and Noah plays for 47 or something like that.
So Tony Parker just went, and he consistently go early in drafts, and I don't get it. Maybe you guys can help me understand what's going on. It's not like last year he was highly ranked, and we got him, I think, projected for a pretty normal Tony Parker line. Like, we're not down on him, but he comes in outside the top 100 in our rankings, and he just went 67 and significantly outside. I think we've got him at 139. So what makes people go after him?
Because he scores a lot of points.
Yeah.
I think, and he's obviously an extremely good real life basketball player. He scores a lot of points, but his fantasy value is not there. There's no steals. He doesn't hit many threes. He doesn't get blocks. He gets some assists. He doesn't rebound the ball. At a stage last season, he was shooting horrible free throw percentage, which is not what you want out of a point guard. It was really, really bad. But he's a tremendous field goal shooter. So he's usually these odd sort of stats and not really much across the board contribution, which for where he's going in some drafts, like I've seen him go at pick 30, which is ridiculously high.
The problem with Tony Parker is simply the fact that he's going to play under 30 minutes probably again this season. The one argument for him playing more minutes right now is because Patty Mills is going to be out until probably January or later. So you could argue that Tony Parker is going to have elevated value early in the season, but no Spurs played 30 minutes last year, and they brought back the exact same team this season. So it's all about the minutes.
Yeah. So my next pick, I'm thinking about going Monroe. What do you think of that?
I mean, he's high in our rankings right now, and
So is he?
If he's played well, the 2 games he's played.
No, I mean, I think Monroe's going to end up coming off the bench. I don't really think they've played Monroe and Drummond together much so far because they like to use both those guys at center.
Yep.
And I don't think you're going to get around that.
What they did today, they started Monroe and they brought Drummond off the bench, and they did the opposite in the first game.
Yep.
Interesting. I hope that's not what they do.
They both have big games.
His contract situation worries me so much. They have almost nothing invested in him at this point. Do you think there's any chance they just, I don't know, kind of disregard him and don't give him, more than 20 minutes a game?
The one thing, the biggest fear I have with Greg Monroe is look at the way that Stan Van Gundy treated Marcin Gortat when he was playing behind Dwight Howard. Gortat barely played, even though everybody knew that Gortat was better than Rashard Lewis and better than Hedo Turkoglu at the time for the most part. Just, it's not the kind of game that Stan Van Gundy thinks can win in the NBA. And so Van Gundy's going to put, Greg Monroe, for a coach like Van Gundy, it's a lot like the Charlotte Bobcats situation. He can make a guy like Greg Monroe work in the system, but he has to use him like Al Jefferson. So you have to have guys spreading the court out around him so he can actually do work down in the post. And that's one of the reasons Greg Monroe struggled at times last season. He's a great rebounder. You can't discount him for that, but Monroe's not a great free throw shooter. His field goal percentage is only at 53% or wherever it is because he plays so close to the rim. But Greg Monroe can't hit a jump shot. He cannot hit an elbow jump shot. It's atrocious. I don't like his game, and as a Pistons fan, I don't want him on my team in fantasy.
Are you guys hearing some music?
No music for me.
You need to take your pills, Mark.
I think one of my other windows is playing a beer commercial here, so.
No, nothing's happening over here.
Oh, I need to turn it back. It is pretty early, Kyle. It's pretty early.
Especially for you, it's very early.
We just turned 7 o'clock here, so it may very well be in my head. So I just went with Larry Sanders there, and I don't know. Part of the reason is because I felt like I had a pretty balanced team. I could take a risk on a guy who's going to get me a lot of blocks. I hadn't gone for blocks yet, and he's one of those guys that you can pick up and just instantly be one of the top guys in the league in blocks. So, I think he's a good guy to target. I think, wasn't last year he was going in like the second round?
Yeah, he was like a top 15 pick in fantasy last year, and that completely ruined people's lives. It was great.
So
Larry Sanders
not high, but he could very well be the guy he was 2 years ago and provide that sort of value. So
the season that Sanders had last year was one of the more humorous seasons of all time. I think just everything that happened, just the fight at the nightclub, the thumb and the champagne bottle, then comes back with a broken face, then the marijuana suspension, just everything went wrong. It's like he just signed that $40 million contract, and you go, you know what? That's it, guys. I'm done. I'm doing everything wrong.
The thing is about Larry Sanders is the fact that he only started playing basketball because he got tall and he could play basketball. Because he's really a skateboarder and like an artist. He's kind of a counterculture kind of guy, and he's not. I mean, he's an artist. Like, he's gonna be one of those guys who's always gonna have emotional issues in regard to like, what is my purpose, what is my role, and if he doesn't have that clearly defined, if he doesn't feel like he's a part of the equation, he's gonna be at a loss. Like, there's gonna be issues with him really producing well on the court. So, and I mean that wholeheartedly. Like, I think that there's a lot of what makes Larry Sanders either one of the greatest defensive players or one of the worst players in the league is completely his emotional mindset.
It seems like as soon as he came in, he made a point to say, to kind of put his confidence behind Sanders and give him the starting role. Where I think there was some thoughts maybe early in the season it could be early in the off season that it could be Henson or perhaps somebody else.
I think that was just one
behind Sanders.
There was one guy that said that Henson was going to be the starting center, but I don't think that was ever confirmed from anywhere. And from what I read about that guy, he's got lots of issues with the Bucks organization and just tweets a lot of misinformation. So I think it's going to be Sanders. And Jason Kidd likes Sanders from all reports. Yeah, as you said, Mark, like he's made statements about him. There was that information. I think that he wanted to trade Brook Lopez for him last season when he was with the Nets. I think he's very high on what Sanders can do. Oh, damn. Kyle, George Hill. I wanted him to get to the next round. Oh.
Yeah, he was at like 94 on ESPN's default rankings, but George Hill is interesting, man, because if
massive game the other night.
Well, I mean, what do you have? How many assists did he have? Like 7?
Yeah, but he had like 6 rebounds as well.
Yeah.
It was a big, like, and 16 points. Like, yeah, someone's got to do something on this team. Like, I took David West the pick before George Hill because I needed a power forward and didn't have one. And again, someone's got to do something, and it's going to be probably those two guys who have got to do it. So I think they're both going to have pretty decent seasons. But yeah, I was tossing up between West and Hill of who I was going to take this, and I'll take West and try and grab Hill on the way back around. But your cunning knowledge got me.
So Andrew Wiggins is the top-ranked player on the draft board right now at 65th overall on ESPN's default rankings. What do you guys think about Andrew Wiggins this season?
Well, first of all, we have him ranked a little bit lower. We've got him projected for 30 minutes a game, and even then, we've got him kind of low at like 148. And so I'm not sure the upside's there, but I'm also terrified that Flip Saunders is going to do something silly and not play him the type of minutes he should play him. They got a lot of veterans there, and he's talked about how they only lost one of their top 7 rotation guys from last season, and they replaced him with Thaddeus Young. So why wouldn't they be a competitive team?
He thinks they're still going to be
I'll be
good.
really sad if they don't start Wiggins, but you wonder even if they do start him, if they're going to try to keep a pretty loose rotation and get a lot of guys in there.
I think it's part of the problem of having a GM and coach as the same guy, that he's bringing in guys to win now with a coach's mentality, not necessarily a looking for the future, mentality. And obviously Kevin Martin and Corey Brewer aren't going to be in that future, but they're probably going to help him win more games this season. Wiggins had a pretty nice game in his debut game the other night. Got some steals and blocks, and I think led the Wolves in scoring. But I'm not going to be jumping all over him when my pick comes back around here at 89, even though he's the top ranked guy there.
I'll say this: didn't Wiggins have like 3 blocks in his first game?
He had multiple blocks. Yeah, it was either 2 or 3.
And if he's going to get blocks, and if they're going to play, I think they played him 32 minutes in the first preseason game. Now, that was without Kevin Martin being there, but it still makes me think like, well, maybe we need to up our projection a little bit on Wiggins, and maybe we need to look at his blocks a little bit more, because especially with the dearth of shooting guards going late in drafts, like, he's got potential to be pretty darn good, and he scored 18 points in that first preseason game too.
Yeah, he led the team, but he said it was without Kevin Martin, who is their best scorer. But you're right, it was an impressive performance. I wasn't expecting him to have that sort of an impact straight away, but he could easily be a guy who averages over a steal on a block a game, and as a shooting guard, that's really, really valuable, especially the one block a game.
The thing that scares me about him though is his field goal percentage.
It's going to be bad.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I'm worried that I've estimated his blocks, but none of the comparisons that I looked at, none of the similar players that I looked at, even if they blocked shots in college, were very high-end blocks. One exception was Tracy. So, I mean, if he's going to be Tracy McGrady, he may get those kind of blocks, but nobody else that I looked at got any blocks as a rookie from that position. So I'm not super high on thinking that he can get a lot of blocks, but I guess
who's going to have more blocks, do you think, as a rookie? Is it going to be KJ McDaniels or Wiggins, who both will be shooting guard eligible? McDaniels had another 2 or 3 block game the other night for the Sixers.
He had 4 block game.
4,
he had a 2 steal 4 block game.
Yes.
But KJ guy who does project to get a lot of blocks. We've got him projected right now for 1.2, and I think that's in like 6 points a game. I mean,
he averaged 2.8 blocks.
His projection really comes out strong there.
He averaged almost 3 blocks a game last season as a shooting guard, which is it's mind blowing really when you think about it. He's not going to average 3 blocks in the NBA, but there's almost no way he won't get 1 block a game if he gets 20 minutes. I would say.
I think they have to look pretty hard to find a bet on who gets more blocks between Wiggins and McDaniels. But if you could find one, I would go heavy on Daniels. I've got him projected for almost 3 times as many blocks as Wiggins.
Okay. So.
Kyle, Enes Kanter just went a couple weeks ago.
Oh, thank God! See, I didn't even see that because he wasn't on my in my highlight yet. So I'm glad I took Valanciunas because I was sitting there and I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, I'll just take Enes Kanter in a pick or 2. But then I decided on Valanciunas, so thumbs up.
I'm thinking Kevin Martin here because I really need 3s, but I don't feel good about it.
No, he's Kyle Lowry, dude. He's always hurt. Like, he's hurt one season and then he's good the next season. Then he's hurt one season and good the next season.
He's already hurt now.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't feel good about that pick, so I think I'm going to look in a different direction. I'm going to take Pat Beverly here.
Interesting. What's your thought process there, Josh?
Well, I wanted to solidify my steals. I wanted to get a guy who hits 3s, and I think he can get close to 1.7 threes a game. I needed 3s. I think I could have gone J.R. Smith, but he's too much of a detriment in other categories. I think Beverly is not going to have as much competition this year, obviously, with Lynn there. He's going to have less, he's not going to, Isaiah Cannon and Ish Smith aren't going to have as much of an impact on his minutes as what Lynn did. He'll play a lot more minutes, and whether he becomes more involved in the offense is debatable, but I think he'll up his assists, and I think he'll provide that defensive presence, and he gets pretty decent rebound numbers as a point guard as well. But the threes is one of the things I wanted from him there, in addition to those other stats, and he's not going to be too much of a killer in other areas, I don't think. And yeah, I just really didn't want to take Kevin Martin.
Well, there goes Burks.
And Andrew Wiggins went one pick before him there at 90, but yeah, that Burks is a pick.
It's an interesting pick.
Isn't that crazy, though? Wiggins was ranked as the 65th player on ESPN. He sat there for essentially 35 picks, or 25 picks, right?
Yeah.
Matt, 25 picks. I'm good at math.
But, I mean, your point is right. I mean, he went 2.5 or 2 rounds lower than we thought he was going to go, or ESPN suggested that he goes. So
There goes Isaiah Thomas at 93. That could be value.
Jeff Green went at 85. I do feel like Jeff Green's getting the shaft by some people this year in fantasy, and I don't get it.
Yeah, I agree.
He's another guy I've ended up with in almost every league that I've drafted.
Yeah.
I think just people have gotten too down on him. Either they've owned him in the past and just do not want to do it again.
But that's the thing that's annoying to me.
All upside.
When people say, like, oh, I had him last year and he burned me, that's fine. But if you had to pick Jeff Green last year, you would have picked him at pick 50. If you're picking him at pick 100 or pick 90, it's a completely different story. And if he has the ability to go back to sort of pick 50 range, but you're not picking him at pick 50 again. So it's not the same level of risk and investment. So just because a guy like Jeff Green doesn't care that he ruined your fantasy season, doesn't bother him. So don't let it bother you. If you're sitting around at pick 100, just pick him. Because you're right. Like that team struggles for talented players, basically. And Jeff Green is a talented guy. Like he has his moments, but he's one of their best players. And with Rondo out and potentially out for good, he's gonna be the best player on that team unless Salinger takes a big step up.
And there goes the internet's favorite player, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, I was waiting for him to go.
Is that how I say that?
What the hell is Jason Kidd doing? Have you guys seen the? He started Jared Dudley in two of their games. He started Dudley in the. Oh wait, has it been 2 games?
No, yeah, he started Dudley in one. He started Jared Bayless in the other one.
And then, but he started Dudley in the like preseason scrimmage practice thing too, in front of the fans.
Yep. He changed his whole starting 5 over. In the first preseason to the second, he started a whole different 5. He started Zaza Pachulia today, or yesterday.
It seems like he's trying to bring Giannis off the bench in favor of playing Dudley or something. I don't know, man.
Yeah, look, as long as Giannis gets the minutes, he's a better option than what Jared Dudley is. Dudley was horrible last season for the Clippers.
Hey, no. You can't do that.
I think it's interesting to talk about because Giannis just went, and Giannis is the guy that's exciting and you're going to want on your team, but I can't see any way that he is better than Paul Pierce this season.
ESPN has Paul Pierce as the 139th ranked player on their default. They've got him projected for 26 minutes a game. In what world would Paul Pierce play 26 minutes a game? Come on, man.
There's no way.
Jason Kidd is his coach.
Yeah.
But, other than that, I think he's gonna be the guy over there. He's gonna be the small forward unless Otto Porter.
It's not gonna be Otto Porter. It's not gonna be Otto Porter. It's not gonna be Glenn Rice.
No, and Martell Webster's already hurt. Like I'm actually a big Martell Webster fan. I think Martell Webster's a good player when he's healthy. But look at how good Trevor Ariza was last year. People are taking Trevor Ariza above Paul Pierce. You wouldn't have done that last season. You're all crazy.
Yep. No.
And Pierce is in a role now where I think he's going to get enough minutes. And he's great at Roto. He's kind of a all across the board contributor. I think he's another guy that I've ended up with in almost every draft.
Well, you've just taken him there. So that's a as a good value pick. He wouldn't have gotten past me at the next pick.
Yeah, I had him. He's the only guy I've queued up in the draft so far. And I had him sit there, and it still pisses me off. Can you get this screen off here? I hate looking at his face with you being the one taking him.
So I've got to make another pick, and I need a point guard, and the only 2 guys that are up high on my list are Chalmers and Lynn. I would normally go Lynn, but I feel like with all the positive news about Steve Nash it makes me nervous.
But Nash is still, he's going to miss a lot of games. He's going to miss one of every back-to-back games. He's going to miss other games. Like he missed today's, I keep saying today because it's today my time. Yesterday's preseason game. Lynn got the start. I think Lynn will still be a decent guy.
I'm wondering, because I think you probably see more news than almost anybody in the world as far as fantasy news. I'm wondering, how do you synthesize that? Like, I see all these reports, and one day this guy, Steve Nash is going to be great, and the next day there's no way he's going to play. How do you? I mean, I think people would be interested to know how you kind of bring that all together and end up making decisions.
It's like the movie Memento. I tattoo everything on my body so that I can remember it. No, it's as simple as like I'm very open about everything I do. So like, if you see me retweeting on Twitter, I'll sometimes tweet out like apologies or whatever because I'm like, oh, sorry for the barrage of retweets. It'll be done in 10 minutes or whatever. But I'm like, that's how I do that. And then anytime there's a link there, I go back to my Twitter thing. I look through my feed and I read all the stories because I like seeing the different quotes from the coaches to understand the try to read between the lines on quotes about like if they say something about a guy and they're talking about his skill set and then they talk about their offense and they're like, well, like when you're talking about Stan Van Gundy and he's talking about how, ideally, he'll say like, oh, we don't know exactly what role all these guys are going to play and all that stuff. But then he'll also talk about like a player who perfectly fits what he wants to do. And you're just like, as much as I hate Jonas Jerebko, he's probably going to get some minutes in the front court, which means that's going to come at the detriment of one of the other guys. So, yeah, I don't know. It's all pretty simplistic. There's no magic to it. It's like anything. If you want to be good at anything, you just have to devote a lot of time to it and give a crap about it. So
yeah, and you got to think about it. You have to sort of have it in your mind and have the ability to recall information and triggers of people's names. Like, I remember this happened with this guy, and I remember this happened with this guy, and just have it and understand. Like I'm sure, I'm not sure, but I reckon Cole, you'd be able to sort of recite every team's depth chart pretty much. If I said what's this team's depth chart, you know what it is. It's just burnt into your head. You know who all their players are. Whereas you might talk to some people and they'll be like, oh, I didn't realize this guy was on that team, or isn't he doing this? It's like, you just look at these things and you just look at them over and over again, and then it becomes second nature that you know who everyone is on every team, and then you work out how how they play, and then it becomes a small change that happens is just that, a small change, and it's easy to adjust to a small change when you've got the base of all that knowledge in your head already. My pick now. Now, what am I doing with this pick?
So Alfred Payton just went, and he's an interesting guy because I just wrote up a column about rookie rankings, and it was for head-to-head leagues, and Payton ranked pretty well. I think he was the guy that I suggested that you should own. But if you look at our 9-category Roto rankings, we've done the top 200. He isn't there. That's not because we forgot about him. He does not project to do well in Roto in the percentage categories and in turnovers. He projects to hurt your team pretty badly, and so
he doesn't shoot threes.
In the top 200, I definitely wouldn't take him in a 9-category league.
Hey guys, is Marvin Williams hurt right now?
Yeah, he is. I saw something about him hurting his toe, maybe. Which is good. That's great news for me because that means Cody Zeller's going to get some minutes. Hopefully, that's who they should be starting. Like Marvin Williams. I feel like I've been on a 12-month rant about Marvin Williams. I just want him out of the NBA. Or he can go play in China or something. Go with Michael Beasley over to China. I don't have to hear about you anymore. Go star in Stephon Marbury's musical. I'm just sick of hearing about Marvin Williams.
He is the worst.
Those are some good questions, though, Josh. You're good at career advice there.
Yeah, well, go over there. Like there's stage shows and all that sort of stuff in Beijing. I'm sure you'd be a hit over there. Just stop polluting NBA starting lineup.
I'm actually pretty excited about this Aaron Aflalo pick. Like he's low on our rankings, but I don't even know why. What is it about him that sucks?
We have him at let's see. Why are you excited, Kyle?
He's the only legitimate shooting guard available right now. Like,
That's true. And the only guy who can really score points that's left there as well.
yeah, and he's the only like. So I'm sitting here and I'm going, okay, I need shooting guard, I need a small forward. And I mean, it's not to the point that like, oh, I need somebody to slot in when my starting shooting guard is out. Like, no, I still didn't have a starting shooting guard or starting small forward because of the way ESPN's constructed. Like, none of these guys have multiple position eligibility.
Do you think that ESPN will not change that at some point in the
Nah,
season?
the exact same thing happened last season. They stripped all their multi-position eligibility, and about a week before the season kicked off, they added it all back in and then added more. I don't know why they do it, but they stripped everything out. They did it the same when they sort of reopened all the leagues. They took all the position eligibility away, and then about a week before the season kicked off, after they've watched some preseason games, then they added it all back in. It annoyed me last season, but then it did happen before the season kicked off.
They're probably factoring in scarcity into the rankings by doing that. When it's something that Mark and I have talked about a lot, and Josh, I don't know if you've talked about it, but like, there's not a lot of scarcity in fantasy basketball because so many players have multi-position eligibility. Because the Paul Gasol guy has power forward and center eligibility. A lot of point guards have shooting guard eligibility because if there's a backup point guard that plays a lot of minutes, they usually give the point guard, shooting guard eligibility and stuff. So.
That's all.
The other thing is you've got
Steph
3
Curry.
utility spots where you can just slot in anybody, and that also takes off the position scarcity.
Yeah.
So
I'm like you, Kyle. I haven't drafted a shooting guard yet at all, and it's I've got 4 picks left, and I'm gonna need to make a pick with it soon. And there's not a lot left. I've probably left the 2 late.
Somebody who's participated in the draft, Team Jackson, he said, "All right, got to go to work. Thanks for ripping most of my picks." Smiley face. I got some gems ready on my queue. Thanks a lot for participating, E. Jackson. Sorry if we weren't trying to be rude. We're just trying to have conversations about it, but we do love you.
Yeah, apologies from me if I said anything derogatory about your selections. I haven't even noticed which teams have taken who, to be honest. So it definitely wasn't deliberately aimed at you.
No. But it does feel bad when you're like. The thing is, like, we're all working from our personal rankings or whatever, and I know Mark and I are both working off of the RotoWire rankings because we help do them. But then we're taking liberties with it. Like, we've got Valanciunas only projected for like a little over 30 minutes because there's some ambiguity about his role on that team, and because we pimped him too much last year, so I didn't want to bolster him up in a bad way or to an unfair degree. I need to make a pick. But in my mind, I'm sitting there when Valanciunas comes around, and I'm like, well, he could play more minutes. So if he plays more minutes, he's great for Roto. So I might as well just grab him a little bit earlier than I would. Did somebody take Mario Chalmers from me? You son of a gun! You jerk, Josh Lloyd.
Just paying you back for the George Hill one earlier on.
Oh, sugar.
It's not
Why is-
and I think he's so we just heard news that he's going to be the starting small forward, right? Isn't that
who's that?
Ryan Stroud said? I
Who
think
is?
he's a good pick this late. He's the type of guy that could end up being ranked where he used to be ranked, which was in the 50s or 60s. And at pick 10,
Gallinari,
the 10th round, you just get rid of him if you don't want him.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out.
Look, we haven't seen him yet on the court, but once he gets out there, I think before his injury, he had 4 like top 50 seasons in a row for 9 category leagues. And look, he's probably post ACL is probably the most talented player on that roster. And whether he can return to that level, or Lawson or Fareed is overtaking, I still reckon he's a better player than Fareed. He definitely could have top 50 sort of upside, especially in the second half of the season.
I like Gallinari more in Roto than I do head-to-head because in Roto, at least his lack of stats certain places leads to his lack of turnovers, so which is good.
All right, so you just took Trey Burke there, who we spoke about with Utah before, Kyle. I want some I need some field goal percentage, a bit of a bump here. So I'm going to take the king of field goal percentages, and that's Tyson Chandler.
Ooh.
I need a boost in my blocks and my field goal percentage. I still don't have a shooting guard, so maybe I'm going revolutionary here and just not playing a shooting guard. I'm going to end up with someone with absolute.
I'm gonna guess that won't work out too well for you.
No. I've got a guy in mind for the next pick, so hopefully he doesn't get sniped here in these next few picks that I'm looking at to fill that role.
Hopefully it wasn't.
Do you pick before I do, don't you?
I
think you do. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do.
All right, I know who you're taking.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Who am I taking then?
Dion Waiters.
No, I'm not. I'm taking, if I can, I want to take Danny Green.
What? Why?
I want his 3-pointers, and I want his blocks as well.
No, Danny Green's great, but like, I don't know. There's a ceiling. I hate ceilings.
There is a ceiling, but I think he's still going to get close to 2 threes a game, even if he's only playing 25 minutes a game.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll give me nice block numbers. Like he's one of those guards we talked about before that can have multi-block games, but he contributes with the threes as well. Like I may not end up taking, but he's a guy that I'm looking at. I'll see what else gets taken around here, but I want to boost my 3-pointers up.
And Josh, I think that's kind of an interesting point because I'm guessing that Danny Green is not like the next guy on your rankings list. He's probably not the most valuable guy.
No.
But you're adding him because you need help in certain categories.
Yeah, and I need a shooting guard as well.
And you need a position. I kind of mentioned that earlier, but I think the more that you can think that way during the draft, that's one of the reasons I always struggled when I started playing fantasy is because I always just took the best player, and my roto teams were always way out of balance. I might have had the most value, like the most auction value at the end of the draft, but my teams I always ended up having to make a lot of moves, which are hard to do. So, in the draft, it's not so much about picking the most valuable guy as rounding out your team.
How
do you guys feel about wait a minute. Did J.R. Smith just go?
Yeah, he did. He was the other guy I was considering at that position, perhaps to give me threes.
How do you guys feel about Markieff Morris?
Has he gone yet? He must.
Yeah, he went back at like 71. He's a guy I like to talk about.
I think he's obviously going to be the main guy in that front court with Channing Frye out of there. Like he had a stretch last season at the start of the season where I think he was shooting 85% from the field for about four or five games in a row. And everyone sort of sat up and took notice, but he improved a ton last season. And I think he can take it to another level this year. If you went to pick 70, I feel that's about right for him. I've seen some people reaching into the top 50 for him. I don't think that's where he needs to go, but he's definitely better than where he's appearing ranked on ESPN's list, which I think ranked in the hundreds, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, his ADP is like 112 or something.
Yeah, so he's better than that. I think he's a top 70, top 75 sort of guy. I think he'll put up pretty good scoring, rebounds. He'll hit threes as well. The percentages will be pretty good. He won't have many turnovers. I think he'll have a pretty good season. I think he'll improve on what he did last season, which was good in itself. Do you like him, Kyle?
No, I don't. I don't like him at all.
Okay, why?
He shot like 30% from three-point land, I think, last year.
Yep.
So, like, seriously?
That's pretty low.
If you're using a guy who's going to be power forward or center eligible, and he's giving you 42% shooting from the field, or whatever it is, Markieff Morris, what does he give you exactly? Oh, biscuits! I don't want to say something that stupid.
I think it's 46 or 7 from the.
Oh wow! Okay.
I'm gonna look it up. Well, or you.
No, we've got him projected for 47%. I think maybe I'm getting too tied up in the fact that he. But I mean, even everybody talks about his three-pointers. He only made 0.7, or we've only got him projected for 0.7 in 29 minutes.
Yeah, he only made 0.4 last. Okay, he shot 49% from the field last season.
What did he shoot from three-point?
I don't have that in front of me, but I don't think it was great. He only hit 0.4 a game. So
I think we tilted his projection more to like his second half numbers.
Okay.
Why did I just type in Mark Roberts ESPN? I'm trying to search for Markieff Morris. You guys just look alike.
I appreciate that, Kyle.
Yeah.
If you want to take me, I'm pretty good at block shots, so.
Are you really good at? Are you good at getting your shot blocked, or you're good at blocking shots?
You got me. That's probably what I'm better at.
Do you guys actually play, like pick up with your buddies and stuff?
Yeah, occasionally. I'm definitely not very good. How tall are you, Mark?
I'm pretty tall. I'm 6'6".
Really?
Jeez. Okay. Well.
Wow.
Wasn't
I'd still block the shit out of your shot.
I wouldn't. I'm almost 6'3", but yeah, 6'6".
Oh my God, you guys are both giants.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Kyle, I'm guessing that you're not 6'6".
I would be I'm like, you would love my height if I was your girlfriend. Oh
yeah, I play a little bit. I'm not very good, but I do like to play.
I don't want to brag or anything, but the RotoWire, we run a gym every Wednesday, so the
Hello?
The call just drop out.
I think we lost Kyle. He got so excited about telling us about how good he is.
Are you just saying you lost me, or did you really lose me?
Oh,
you
no,
know,
you're back.
no,
You're back.
Yeah, no, you're
Oh.
For a second.
I think you guys are just messing with me.
I figured you got your chair. You were so excited to tell us.
No,
About
I think the Google Hangouts program is so good that it knows when to shut people off when they're about to tell a stupid story. So.
If you can't come on Google Hangout and brag about how good you are at pickup basketball, I don't know where else you can do it at.
Yeah, I could brag and no one would know the difference, but yeah, it's I'm not good at it. I'm one of those guys. Like everyone would say to me, "Oh, you're so tall, you should play basketball." Yeah, that's great, but I can't. Like I'm not good at it. I am tall. I can stand there. I can be an enforcer against 5'7" guys that are trying to drive. But yeah, I'm not good at it. Yeah, height is not everything. Unfortunately, when you can't hit a shot from standing under the ring. I did dunk it once. Mark, you'd be able to dunk, would you?
I can't. Well, I don't think I can dunk anymore. Back when I was athletic, I could dunk.
Okay.
Actually, I grew up in rural Idaho, so this is not a impressive thing because there's only a few people that could dunk. But we used to have a school dunk contest, and I actually won it a couple of years.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh.
Is there any video of that?
No, there isn't.
That's
Luckily.
unfortunate.
If you find that, you should post on Facebook and ask if any of your high school friends, if anybody's got like an old tape of that or something.
It'd be worth watching.
Mhm.
Well, for comedy's sake, as much as anything, trying to watch a bunch of short white guys dunk is gonna be some comedy there, I think.
Dude, you're 6'6".
Yeah, exactly. That's not short.
Not at all.
Well, I'm just saying there was more than just me though.
Okay.
This is getting brutal.
Yeah, it is. It's getting very tough. You just took waiters, yeah.
So, and maybe you guys were skewed a little bit, but in round 11, if we look at that block of players, who stands out to you guys? Who are you looking and being like that is a great pick in round 11?
Which one?
Is it the guys you took or is it somebody else?
I don't like any of the picks right now, because there's just no. I mean, like it's just there's so much uncertainty. Like I don't like my own pick. I don't like Andre Iguodala because Andre Iguodala has a questionable role this season. He played a career low in minutes last year. He's been horrible from the free throw line the last couple of years. There's issues. Henry Sims. I've seen Henry Sims play basketball. It's not fun.
Yeah, I watched him last night. It wasn't good.
No, he runs like with his shoulders. It's weird. It's like
what is? That's the first thing I saw him. I go, this guy doesn't know how to run. Like what his head is his head is flopping in the wrong direction. I don't know what was going on. I was watching this guy and go, who is this guy? Surely this guy's like a camp invite. And they go, and Henry Sims. That's Henry Sims. I was shocked. And I went, I just scratched him off my list and go, you know what? If the guy can't run, then he's dropping down a few spots. It was amazing.
That's really funny. So that brings into an interesting question. So what is your guys' strategy for the bench pick? So what I usually do is I just try to take guys that will know pretty quickly whether they're going to be fantasy relevant or not, because I feel like I'm going to need some roster spots to pick up guys that I want. If I stack my team with just guys that I rank really high, I'm going to be reluctant to drop anybody. But if I pick a bunch of high-risk, high-reward players, maybe one works out and I can drop the other two and pick up guys I need. But, how do you guys approach the last couple of rounds?
You go ahead, Josh.
I normally look at it like it depends on what I need. Like if I'm like really deficient in a category, then I'll try and fill it there. But otherwise, it's just guys who have the ability to put up bigger value and maybe top 100 value depending on how that situation plays out and how the rotation plays out. And then you can make a move in that first week. So whether it's we're looking at, say, the guys on the Bucks, who's going to start there if Ilyasova starts or if Henson starts or whatever happens there. The guys around that, and after a week you can go, what, see you later, and I'll deal with you in a month or two if something changes. That's the way I normally look at it, unless I've got a big deficiency that I need to fill up. How do you look at it, Kyle?
Right now, the only thing I care about is trying to find a competent small forward to put in my darn lineup. So I don't have one yet, and that's.
There's not a lot here. There's
nothing. I almost want to take Paul George and just hope he comes back for the playoffs.
That's what I was saying at the start when I took Melo at the start, because small forward, there's three guys at the top. There's James, Durant, and Melo, but then it becomes like a wasteland at the end. There's just nothing. There's just nothing left when you get to the second half of the draft as small forward. It almost becomes as bad as what shooting guard is.
All right, this is the only guy I trust. Well, that's not true.
So
I hate
an interesting team. Go ahead.
I hate Marvin Williams. I don't trust Harrison Barnes. These are the guys that are in my queue right now. Ben McLemore, I don't trust. I'd rather take Nick Stauskas. Marcus Smart, Rudy Gobert, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, but I needed a small forward, so it had to be between Harkless, Marvin Williams, and Harrison Barnes right now, because I'm sitting here scrolling through, and there's no good small forwards. I could have taken Solomon Hill, but the fact that they're playing C.J. Miles at the start of this preseason pisses me off and makes me think that C.J. Miles is going to get the role just because he's a vet, even though he sucks at basketball. So it's just tough right now. There's no good small forwards right now.
It's like Caron Butler sitting there. Like I can see him in these lists on the rankings. Like no one wants anything to do with Caron Butler at
No.
50. That's yuck.
I'd rather go down to the bottom and take Jamario Moon and hope that he comes back to the NBA.
He has some interesting guys in their draft list. You can pick some of your old favorites.
How do you? It's pretty hilarious. Like you've got. Oh, okay. So Eric Griffin, Luigi Daytome. I'm down here. I'm looking at in the 900s. They've got there's only 450 active players in the league, right, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
How do you have Darius Miller, who's been starting in the preseason, at 821?
Yeah, in the middle there's Shaq's there, Jason Kidd's in there, guys like Derek Fisher's in there, guys that they're going to come off the bench and hit threes. I remember last year Jason Kidd was ranked at 300 and something, and he was a coach. Grant Hill's there somewhere.
Not that he's just ranked, but he also has some stats that they've projected him for, which is impressive.
Wait. Who did they project stats for?
I think it was Grant Hill, unless they cleaned it up. I saw that on Reddit, actually. Somebody posted Grant Hill's projected stats.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
Who did you take with your last pick, Mark?
I took Mason Plumlee and Manu Ginobili.
I was going to
Plumlee
take
is
John
actually a guy who comes out really high in our rankings, and I always end up just taking as my last pick. But we've got him. This is Mason Plumlee from the Nets. We've got him at pick 85. There's a good chance he's going to lead the league in field goal percentage. He gets steals and blocks.
He's going to shoot
he'll get
70%
rebounds.
from the field.
So if he gets the minutes, I think he could be a very valuable player.
Yeah, that's a great pick, man.
He's going to shoot like 70% from the field.
Yeah. I don't think they allow him to shoot anything but layups and dunks, which is great for fantasy.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was going to take one of those guys. I wanted Ginobili actually on the way back around because I think people are, especially like in a roto league on the bench where you can just sort of plug and play him when you need to. It's a pretty good pick. He might only play 60 games, but you've got the 82 game limits at each position. If he's on your bench, you just bring him in and out, and he could be at per game at top 90 guy, and give you decent assists as a shooting guard as well. He's just
normally I would have taken Dante Exum because I usually just take him as my last pick. I feel like I'm the only person left in the world that is a Dante Exum supporter, but it looks like we had one other person in our draft at least behind Exum a little bit. So he went just a few picks before I did. So I think this is the first draft I've ever done where I haven't gotten Exum.
All right, so we've got one for what's my pick, last pick. What do I do here?
I'm really surprised Tina Fey hasn't gotten picked yet.
Is he still there? Oh yeah, there he is. Maybe I'll take him. Let's see. Kyle, I'm tempted to go with Jody Meeks. I know that probably offends your sensibilities.
If you want a player that you're going to drop in a week and a half on your team, go ahead.
I've only got one shooting guard, so I feel like I need another one.
Dude, if you're going to take a shooting guard from Detroit, it should be Contavious. The dude scored 20 points and 18 points in the first two preseason games, one of them coming off the bench. He's going to be so... He's going to be... I'm not saying he's going to be consistent, but when all is said and done, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope has the ability to be, like, the second best player on the Pistons behind Drummond.
Yeah, no, I really like. You know what? You've swayed me. I'm going to take KCP right here.
Kyle, I would love it if you just tricked Josh into letting you take Jody, because I know that's not what you did, but that would have been awesome.
No, Kyle wants Rodney Stuckey here, I think. Stuckey's gone. Well, he went to the
Stuckey has already been taken, Kyle.
Yeah.
So,
draft him.
You can take Ray Felton.
No, I'm going to take a guy that I usually never would take, but his jump shot looks a little bit better this year, so I'm going to bank on him playing huge minutes and maybe being of use in a roto league. I hope he doesn't. If he looks horrible with his jump shot the rest of the preseason, I'll end up dumping him. But with my last pick, needing another guy to be able to plug in that small forward, I just took Michael Kidd-Gilchrist.
Yeah, look, it does look better, his jump shot. It's never going to be great, but
it looks a lot better. Like,
yeah, it does.
Remarkably so. I don't know if it'll actually go in, though.
Did you hear the stat on him the other day? I think that he's attempted or made like 5 3-pointers in 2 years. It was something ridiculous. Something like excessively low that he's in 2 years, that's all he's done. And I think you're playing on the wing and you can't hit like a jump. You can't hit a three. Like, it makes it really tough. It was some ridiculously low amount that he'd taken.
Well, yeah, and the issue with Kidd-Gilchrist too, like he's 6'7", but I don't feel like when I look at him standing next to other small forwards, I feel like he's small. Yeah. Like I almost feel like Kidd-Gilchrist should be at shooting guard, and the one thing that I think he still has room to grow, and I don't mean from like a basketball skill set. He obviously has room to grow there, but like even his body, he's 21 years old right now. He just turned 21.
Yep. So
he's young.
That's it. We spoke earlier about
on the court with they're not the best shooting team anyways, and so they've got to have some floor spacers. Do you think they'll be able to? I mean, Stevenson is okay, and Kemba Walker is okay. Marvin Williams is okay, I guess. So with those other three guys, can you keep Kidd-Gilchrist on the court?
I mean, who are you going to replace him with? Gerald Henderson's punk butt? Like,
Yeah, I guess that's the only other option, right?
Gerald Henderson can't shoot threes either.
That's
So at least Michael Kidd-Gilchrist can take it to the rack like Jerry Stack. So not really. He really's not that good. That was a reference to a Jurassic 5 lyric.
All right, well, that's it. That's the whole draft.
We're done.
Are we done?
Yep.
Do we want to just do we want to evaluate each other's teams?
Okay.
Sure, I think I can bring that. We can look at it by team here. Let me bring that up.
We're not going to do all the teams. Let's just rip on each other's teams.
That's a good idea. Sounds productive.
Oh.
Thanks to everybody who listened and watched or all that jazz. I hope this was fun.
Yeah,
I had fun.
I had fun doing it too, so I hope you guys got something out of it from listening and hearing us talk about what we think about some of these guys and some of our strategies and what we're thinking as it goes down.
So, since I'm being selfish, here's my team to start with.
All right, let's go on this first then.
Yeah, let's take a look at your team.
Sorry, everybody at home. I don't know. Am I showing this or not?
It's kind of fuzzy on my side, and when I say fuzzy, I mean like it just looks like pixels. Now we're looking at your scruffy face. You need to shave, buddy.
Nope. I am bad at this, guys.
Well, let's see. Team Roberts. So you've got Kyrie Irving, Wesley Matthews, Kevin Durant, Terrence Jones, Marc Gasol, Jeremy Lin, Greg Monroe, Larry Sanders, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Draymond Green, Mason Plumlee, and Manu Ginobili. There's things about your team that I really, really like. Like, this is a pretty balanced team, it feels like. Except I'm terrified about your assists.
I am not going to do well in assists. If
Yeah.
I played out this league, I would have a hard time.
It's not that bad. Look, you're not the bottom of assists. I wouldn't have said, but you're like I think you're better than me in assists when we get to my team later. Like you're gonna be better than me, but yeah, you don't have a huge amount of sort of point guard.
I don't. Yeah.
It's a good thing this is a mock, Mark.
Yeah, no kidding. The thing that I do have though is Durant gets assists, Marc Gasol gets assists, and there's one other guy.
Monroe gets assists,
Yep.
or he should get more assists than he does.
Pierce gets decent assists.
Yeah. And so
And you got Ginobili as well.
The good thing about those players is, well, Durant's going to turn over the ball a lot, but like Gasol, who's going to give me some assists, isn't going to have as many turnovers as a point guard, so hopefully that balances out a little bit. But yeah, I mean, truth be told, if I could go back, I would probably take another point guard. I only have 2, and I really wish I had at least 3.
Yeah, so it's not a bad lineup. Like I think your team's really strong.
And I love Kevin Garnett and Roto, and the fact that he's people like last year was just frustrating because Jason Kidd sucks as a coach.
Yep.
But I like Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, he's.
All right,
Yeah,
you want to bring up Josh's team or?
Yeah, let's look at Josh's team.
Let's look at mine. I can tell you guys where I suck already. I've got no points and no assists.
What are you talking about, dude? Carmelo's going to carry a lot of weight, and then Bledsoe has good. So here's this team: Bledsoe, Danny Green, Carmelo Anthony, David West, Joakim Noah, Darren Williams, Kawhi Leonard, Marcin Gortat, Patrick Beverley, Mario Chalmers, Tyson Chandler, Kelly Olynyk, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I already told you what I think about Kentavious. I think, realistically, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope can end up being the leading scorer for the Pistons this year.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. He's been look all this year, summer league and the 2 preseason games. He's been amazing for them. He's been like their go-to guy.
Yeah.
He's backcourt, and we know he's a better shooter than Brandon Jennings.
I would have not. So are we sure he's the starter?
No. I mean, there's volatility there. I'm saying he could be their leading scorer. Like he's in the conversation.
It's what you spoke about before, Mark, of picking this. Like, I'm going to know in a couple of weeks whether he's going to get decent minutes or he's going to get 10 minutes a game, and then I can drop him off. But if he gets 25 to 30 minutes a game, he's worth holding on to as a bench guy as well. Because again, win Roto, you don't have to use your bench spots.
Right, and
I can just sit him there for 2 months if I need to.
and if he doesn't play well, Jody Meeks is still available.
Yep.
PJ Tucker's still available. Tony Allen's available. There's plenty. Vince Carter's a guy you could go out and pick up. Ben McLemore's still available. Bojan Bogdanovic is available. There's plenty of guys who could end up stepping up. Nobody drafted Aaron Gordon. Like, nobody took a flyer on him. Steven Adams was still available. There's a lot of guys on the waiver wire right now in this league.
Jimmy Nelson. Nick Young's still there. Like, I know he's going to miss time, but Nick Young's there. Like, you could easily put him on your bench and get 15, 16 points out of him.
CJ McCollum.
Sotomayor, Evan Turner, they can score.
Wesley Johnson. Like, there's tons of guys available who Marvin Williams didn't even get drafted. He's the starter for the Charlotte Hornets.
Yep.
So
no. Your third pick was it Darren Williams?
My what pick? Sorry.
Was your third pick? Did you go?
No, my third pick was Noah. Noah was I went Noah, Anthony Leonard, Noah, Bledsoe, Williams.
He got Williams with the 56th pick.
That's awesome.
Oh, got him.
Every report we hear is he is doing better, and maybe that's me getting sucked in again by the hype. But I think he's.
I think every mock that I've done, every draft I've done, I've got him after 50 nearly every mock draft that I've done. Williams.
He's probably the best value in if he's healthy, he's probably one of the best values in drafts this year.
Yeah, he's going. Look, I got him at 65 in a draft. Not long ago, and that's ridiculous value for a guy who, 2 years ago he was a top 10 guy. Now he's not going to be that again, but he's not going to be. Look, last year he was. Look, we know he was horrible last season. He was bad. He was abysmal at times, but he still was like a top 50 guy. Like that's he had that much of a drop off because 2 years ago he was averaging 22 and 10. Yeah. If he's dropped off that much, but he's that's dropping off from top 10 value. So he's not going to get worse than last season, I don't think.
Well, he's got a smart coach now. Lionel Hollins came out and said, hey, you know that offense he was running in Utah where he was dropping dimes and everybody was talking about him being literally the best point guard in the league in the conversation with Chris Paul? That's what he's going to be trying to run with him in Brooklyn this year. So we might see Darren Williams get better, and we might see the big man for the Nets get even better too, because it's going to be focused on running that pick and roll to death, most likely.
Yeah. Now, Darren Williams is one of those guys that we talked about before. Like, but at that pick, I had to pick him, but I don't like him. He's got a top 5 worst haircut in the NBA. He's got a horrible tattoo. He's got a bad beard. It's just like I've got a beard too, but Doron needs to work on that beard. His haircut is horrific. He's not a fun guy to watch. He's a whinger. But at pick 55, I'll take the bad hair and I'll take the horrible tattoo, and I'll hopefully get some value out of it. But he's not fun. He's not fun to cheer for.
Oh, sorry, Josh.
Okay.
One thing I think is interesting about your team, and you mentioned this already, is the points. I think it's easy for people in drafts to say this guy is overrated because he scores a lot of points, or this guy is overrated. And you went with some guys that maybe are typically underrated with Leonard and Noah.
Yep.
But because they're bad at points go so early in the draft. It's hard to make that up ever.
Yeah, it's.
Do you find yourself having to target points after that point?
After about 4 or 5 rounds, even if you try to target points, you can't. Like they're just not there. So after I made that decision to solidify the other categories, I thought, you know what, points is going to be one of my worst categories. I sort of have to concentrate on filling in all my other gaps really well, which I think I did to a degree. But yeah, if you don't get points early on, ideally I wanted to start the draft by going Mallow and Al Jefferson, and that would have really given me a big heads up in points with 2 guys that over say 22 a game. But yeah, Jefferson wasn't there, so I went a different way with things. But yeah, my points struggle and my assists struggle a bit as well. They're low. Like I've got a few point guards on the roster. I've got 4 point guards on the roster. I've got Williams, Bledsoe, Beverly and Chalmers, but they're not high assist guys. Like especially Beverly and Chalmers, they're not high. Although I think Chalmers can have a big increase in his assists this season without LeBron there.
Yeah, I agree. So I mean that's a good thing to note for people is even if you feel like points are overrated, you need to get them in the first few picks if you're going to be able to compete in that category. And in a Roto league, you kind of need to do that. In a head-to-head league, maybe you can not worry about that so much, but points are going to go early.
Yeah, because they're one of those things when you look at overall value, points correlates pretty much exactly with overall value as to the way it runs down. So yeah, the higher a guy's overall value, the higher his points value, almost without fail. It seems to be. There's a few exceptions, but pretty much points is one of the main contributors to everyone's overall value.
You called Darren Williams a whinger? What is that? I can't find it
Oh,
on Urban Dictionary.
okay. I sometimes forget that some of the words. Half the time I'm saying sentences in my head, and I go, you know what? I think this is something that Americans may not understand. I didn't realize that whinge is not. It's someone who is a complainer. Whinge is complaining, just like whining. It's like a whiner. I assume that's a word that you know.
Yeah.
A whinger is a whiner. So someone who whines and complains a lot. So yeah, I have to catch myself when I talk half the time because I say things and I go, oh, I'm not sure if this is if people know this word or not. Like even when I'm writing things, I'll look it up and I'll go type it into like Urban Dictionary or just to see if it's if its use is colloquialism Australia or British colloquialism because people aren't going to get what I'm talking about.
All right, Kyle, I got your team up here.
I really like your team, Josh.
Yeah, I think it's fairly strong. The points suck, but I think it's strong in the rest of the areas.
But the thing is, like, I think the points even, like, Mario Chalmers should score more, Kelly Olynyk should score more. If Caldwell Pope pans out, Kawhi, it's possible. Darren should score more. David West should score more. And Bledsoe, like, so there's so many guys on your team who should score more this season, or at least could.
My last two picks were Caldwell Pope and Olynyk, and I think that they're guys who potentially could have much bigger roles this season, have a big increase in what they're able to do. So they're sort of last picks that have that real upside ability to increase what they did. And Olynyk showed it the other night. He had a pretty decent game in the Celtics' first preseason game. I thought he played pretty well. All right, Kyle, your turn. Let's have a look. So we've got Kemba Walker. You got it up?
Yeah, it's up on the screen. Go ahead, Josh.
All right, so we've got Kemba Walker, Aaron Aflalo, Mo Harkless, Kevin Love, Andre Drummond, Drew Holiday, Pau Gasol, Jeff Teague, George Hill, Jonas Valanciunas, Trey Burke, Deion Waiters, and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Overall, Kyle, I think you got your assists are pretty well covered. I think you got some good assist numbers there. Walker will get a lot, Holiday get a lot, Teague and Hill, they're all going to get and you got Trey Burke. So you got 5 point guards on the team. So I think you got assists pretty much covered. Now,
What was that, Mark?
I said I think we need to make a trade if this was real life.
Yeah.
No point guards. You've got 5.
Now, you've gone with Drummond with the free throw, but it hasn't hurt you that much, I don't think. I
actually think that's where Teague was an excellent pick because, besides like the first round guys, he's as valuable in free throw percentage as anybody else. He gets the line a lot and he shoots such a high percentage.
Massive. It's like 85 or 80, 85%.
Kevin Love shoots really good from the free. Like, okay, so like some of my guards aren't the best free throw shooters. Like I think Aaron Aflalo. Well, no, Aaron Aflalo's pretty good. But like my other big men. So the guys that while other people are playing big men who shoot crappy free throw percentages, like I've got Drummond who shoots a crappy free throw percentage, but Kevin Love, Pau Gasol, and Jonas Valanciunas all are going to shoot a good free throw percentage. So that should help me with Drummond too.
The thing that's interesting.
You've got rebounds locked up with Love and Drummond.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your rebounds are pretty solid. And
I mean, if I'm going to be completely honest, I think I win this league.
Fair enough. We'll,
I say that after every draft. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope that you feel that way.
But I tell you what's interesting with the Drummond thing is that, okay, you can draft Drummond, but the thing is that someone else is going to draft Howard. Someone else is going to draft Jordan. Now we've got someone else who's going to draft Noel. And you can even start to include maybe Favors in that list as well, who's going to shoot 60%. So all those guys are going to have a big anchor on their team that drops their free throw percentage down. So you might have Drummond, Kyle, but it still you might get 4 or 5 points out of that category. So it's not a complete write-off for you. Because those other guys, someone else is going to get Howard, and someone's going to get Jordan, and someone's going to get Noel, and they're all going to have bad free throws as well. So they're all going to be dropped. Unless someone just goes, I'm getting Jordan, I get Jordan, Howard, and Noel, then you're more in line to maybe get 2 or 3. But you easily could finish mid-table in the free throw percentage, and and plus you've locked up the other areas.
Hmm.
Yeah, Josh, I think that's a great point, and I don't think you can overstate that. I think people just assume when you pick one of those guys that you're punting free throw percentage that you're going to finish last, but there's three or four of them, so not everybody can finish dead last. Just by
Yep.
virtue of there being other guys that are terrible at free throw percentage, you're going, if you pay a little bit of attention to it, you can get at least 3 or 4 points there. And if Kyle, you did a great job. You got a lot of guys who shoot good free throw percentage. I would guess that you're not going to be, you'll be at least in the middle of the pack there.
I've
Yeah,
only got one guy who averages over 3 turnovers a game too, so I kind of feel good about that too.
yeah, your
Like
turnovers are pretty strong
like
too.
even though I've got tons of point guards on my team, like I don't know, I feel pretty solid with it.
Mark, do you have like a projection of the standings for this league?
Yeah, I'm not quite there yet. I
Okay.
put in about the first 80 picks, and I didn't keep up after that. So,
Okay. I'll tell you
yeah.
whose team. I just want to talk about one
Or
team
did you
quickly
do
here.
that, Josh? Sorry.
I do. I've got a
Okay, yeah,
projection.
go ahead.
Um, and the guy who came out on top, which is really interesting considering it's a roto league, is the guy that picked Dwight Howard, and that's Team Lopatin.
Oh, Daniel?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Dan Lopat, and he's super dope. We talk on Twitter a
He
lot.
his team came out on top of. He's got Curry, Oladipo, Deng Millsap, Jordan, Stevenson, Antetokounmpo, Howard, Knight, McRoberts, Barnes, Teletovic, and Boozer. Now he's obviously got Jordan and Howard, so that's his free throws are done. He's got a ton of turnovers with Curry, Oladipo, Howard, Stevenson. So he's pretty much lost that as well. But everything else is like sky high.
Which team am I looking at here,
It's
Josh? Sorry.
the Lopatin. It's the last one on the teams list, right down the bottom. He had pick 12, I think. Maybe I'm imagining that.
He picked Curry, so I'm
No, he
guessing.
didn't. Sorry, he didn't have pick 12. No, he had pick 2. Sorry. Yeah, Curry went. No, Harden went 2, didn't he? I'm getting confused. Harden went 2. Curry went 3.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, so he had pick 3. He's the last one on that team list. Have you got it up now? I'm not on that screen.
I'm
Yeah, there it is.
surprised that you have him ranked so highly. Not. I like his team. I like some of the players. I especially like Millsap. He's the guy that I usually end up getting. I like Oladipo a lot. McRoberts is a pretty good value, but I would think just by drafting Jordan and Howard, you're going to be so low in free throw percentage.
Yeah, look, he's done in free throw percentage, but look, his rebounds are locked up. He gets a lot of blocks. He's got a lot of steals because he's got Curry. He's got Millsap that gets steals. He's got Oladipo getting steals.
So he's essentially punting free throw percentage, but he's doing really good in everything else.
Oh, and turnovers. The turnovers are pretty much done as well because there's so many high turnover guys here. Like Curry and Oladipo are probably going to get 7 turnovers a game between them, and Howard gets it over 3. Stevenson gets a ton. Knight gets close to 3. There's a lot of guys getting turnovers, so he's done with that. But everything else, he's got a lot of threes, obviously with Curry, and he's got big guys hitting threes. Teletovic, Barnes hitting threes, McRoberts hitting threes.
So these are based off these standings are based off your projections.
Yep.
Okay. And
So
do you have the whole standings? Like, where does it all run down?
I do. I've got him at 1. I've got me at 2. Yeah. Obviously, they were my projections. I still
Convenient, Josh.
very. I've got Mark sitting at 3. JJ at 4.
All right.
Real, I don't know who that is. Real.
Actually, by the way, so you said you got Dan Lopat at number 1. He's like famous. He's got a band 1-0 tricks point never.
Okay.
It's like I'm not gonna describe it the best way, so I won't even try. But you can go to pointnever.com, and yeah, he's got like 54,000 likes on Facebook.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And apparently he's better at fantasy basketball than all
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Now he's
There
gonna
you go.
steal our jobs.
so.
Yep. Our jobs and our women. Yeah. So where was I up to? JJ at 4. Real. I've just got abbreviations here. Whisk, DJ, Moore, Justin Fielkow. Is that how you say it? Then I've got Kyle, and then Part and Jack. I don't know who they are. but it's pretty like the middle is they're actually pretty tight. I think it was a pretty well contested draft. Like the numbers come out pretty tight.
Where did I finish?
10th.
10th?
Obviously,
What do I suck in? What do I suck in?
Steals, blocks. I've got steals, blocks at 3. Your free throws at 4. And then you sort of middle in 7 in threes, high assists, 6 in field goal percentage, 7 in turnovers, middle of the range there. So there's
I'm surprised he's not higher in rebounds. Where's he at in rebounds?
I think I got him at 5 in rebounds.
Whoa.
Wait a minute. So wait, do these projections? Does it just take the total of all the players on the team?
Yes. So it's not including bench spots. So like there's room to move it because you got the bench, but this is just taking the total of everyone on the team. So there's the bench issue there. So that would have an impact on it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure if you recalculated that, things would be different. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm
or
sure.
At least if Kyle recalculated it, it would look a little different.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, if we use my projections, I would look pretty good.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, I don't know. Do you guys got anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm sure we've been way too long already. So.
Yep.
Cool.
I'm gonna
covered all that stuff.
shut off the broadcast. Do you guys want to say anything before we do?
We've got a new rankings tool on RotoWire that just went live yesterday. It's got ADP pulling in from ESPN, Yahoo, CBS. So, like, when I was doing the draft today, I'm sitting here and I'm referencing it, and I've got our ranking, I've got the ADP, so I can kind of see, all right, I don't really have to take this guy here right now. I can wait a little bit on him. And it's just a great reference tool to have the ranking and the ADP all tied into the same spreadsheet. You can export it to a PDF or Excel. So if you're interested, you can get 10 free days at rotowire.com/POD. Otherwise, if you want a subscription, just tell them that Kyle sent you, and they can give you $5 off on a year-long subscription, which goes to May 15th, or that's like the season-long subscription. And that's $39.99. Ask them for $5 off to get it for $34.99. Otherwise, if you just want help for your draft or whatever, we've got the Draft Kit app on Apple, iTunes, whatever that's called, and whatnot. I'm a really good salesman.
All right. Yeah, I don't think I've got anything else to add really.
Yeah.
It was good. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Josh, where can people find you on Twitter, Josh?
Yeah, that's good. You can find me on Twitter at redrock_bball, and head across and follow me there. That would be great if you could do that, and ask me any questions about anything that happened during this draft or anything that you want to know. I'm happy to answer anything.
Josh is writing blogs right now, box score breakdown blogs, kind of like going through all the stuff that's happening in the preseason and giving you the down low on it a few hours after all the games get done. He's going to be doing that throughout the season too. Mark helped out with all the projections. He really did all the projections for us this season. We collaborated on that, and yeah, just there's tons of awesome articles on the site from Josh, from Mark. Mark you can find on Twitter at where, Mark?
It's Mark F. Roberts, and that's Mark with a C.
All right.
Mark Gasol.
Just like Mark Gasol. You're just like Mark Gasol.
Yeah.
So yeah, just thanks for listening and watching, everybody. We love you.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
See you later.